Today's project is all about chickens, and these are some of ours, and this is Bonnie chicken, ginger chicken, and more ginger chickens and black chickens. So let's get on with the project. For this project today, I'm using an older yarn. It's a So Crafty Aran yarn and the colour is berry. And I've been very organised this time and I've caked it up ready to go. And I'm using DK weight yarn for the comb and the beak because the parts are a little fiddly to put together. DK makes it a little easier. I'm using Patterns Fab DK in a nice bright yellow for the beak and a red sparkly yarn which I've lost the label for the comb, but it doesn't have to be sparkly. It just so happens this is what I've got in my stash. So let's get on and start making our chicken. For this project you're going to need a scissors, some 15mm safety eyes because we're doing the 46-48 version, a darning needle and some clips are very handy, or some pins. And you're also going to need stuffing of your choice. And a small piece of felt would be handy as well. So in order to begin our pattern, we are going to cast on as we normally do, starting at needle 1. And back and forth, over and under, whichever term you prefer to use. Either way, make sure that that yarn is going right under those needles there, okay? All the way around back to the last needle on your machine. Now I've done a written pattern for this design as well, which gives you the options to make the chicken in a 22 pin machine and also a 48 pin machine. So check the pattern out. I'll put a link somewhere on the screen there for you to find the pattern in my little Etsy shop. If you'd like to support my channel that way, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to zero my clock now to 01 and we are going to do 100 rows for this particular version. So I'm taking it easy with the first row so that the machine beds in and finds its level and finds its tension and its happy little chappy machine. And then we'll crank ahead and we will do 100 rows in total. So I'll see you at the end then for casting off, okay? So do your 100 rows and I'll see you very shortly. And I'm using my 4.5 volt screwdriver attachment to do this particular project. Makes it a little bit quicker. Doesn't crank any faster than I can by hand. Just takes the strain off the shoulder and the hand a little bit. And here we are at row 100 completed already. Fantastic. So now we need to trim our yarn and pop it on a darning needle and cast off. So cut a long tail, 18 inches about is what I choose to do. Close the gate on your machine so it doesn't catch those needles as you're turning your bed of the machine around. Okay, and there's my needle. I'm going to, one needle at a time, cast off of the first few and then I can move on to casting off a few more as I get a little bit of slack on my machine there. I'll do this all the way around the machine, and if you're new you can do this one stitch at a time, and if you've done it a few times then you know exactly what to do. And a warm welcome to all my new subscribers, by the way. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So I'll whiz around here now and I'll see you at the last stitch. And then we'll move on to constructing our beautiful little chicken. And there's our last stitch off the machine, and our work for the main body of our chicken is complete. So now we'll move on to construction. For the next stage of the work, what we normally do is we stretch out our work. This is exactly the same. Stretch out your work. Up and down, left and right, to make sure those stitches are sitting nicely and where they should be. Okay, and what we're going to do now is to feed one end inside the other, as if we were going to be making a beanie, but we are not making a beanie. So line up your two tails on your cast on and your cast off edge like that, and make sure that your edges are meeting precisely on the bottom there like that. Now I've got a couple of pins or clips that I use when I'm sewing, and I'm going to use a few of those just to make sure that everything is in the place that it's meant to be. So I'm using a couple of these little clippy pins. You could use a peg if you don't have any of these, just something that's going to hold this in place and make sure that you are absolutely level at the top. You could put a couple of pins in if you want to, but do that all the way around. It's just to make sure that this doesn't move while we are sorting out the rest of this. And that should be fine. So even up your work, and that'll make sure then that you are absolutely level at the top and level at the bottom. If you've got another way of doing it, or doing it your way, then by all means you do it that way if you want to. So I'm happy with that now. Next we need to mark out the piece with the template. Now here's a template for the 46 and the 48, and if you do decide to purchase the pattern, I will include the templates for the 46, 48, the 40 pin machine and a 22 pin machine. Now I'm using an ordinary Sharpie marker here. If you've got a fabric marker, that's great, okay? And all you need to do is to hold this in place as best you can, it should be okay, and lightly mark around like that with the marker pen. Okay, it's not going to be seen, but you know, don't do it too heavy, just mark all the way around like that. Okay, all the way around. So when you take it off, there's your line. The next thing you need to do is to put a length of yarn on a darning needle. I've got about 2 foot, something like that, on a darning needle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sew around this line. Okay, so I'm going to put a holding stitch at the top there like that. So I'm going to pull my yarn through and just put a knotty stitch like that. And pull that tight, and that's done. And if you wanted to make doubly sure, I'm just emptying out my clips there, I can put an extra couple of clips here just to make sure that that doesn't move while I'm stitching it. Okay, but that's just my belts and braces way of dealing with it. Now we're going to stitch around, and I call this back stitch. I'm not sure whether it is a back stitch or not, so I'm going to go back there and then forward about 1 centimetre and through like that, and then where I came out I'm going to go back into that stitch and 1 centimetre in front of that one like that, and pull that yarn through. And where you can see the yarn came out there, that's your last stitch, back in through there and 1 centimetre in front again, thereabouts. You can do smaller stitches if you want to, and back through there like that, and we're going to do that all the way around that curve like that. So continue following the line all the way around the curve, going through both layers. Okay, so right through to the back, you want to go right through to the back and back up in front of your other stitch there like that, all the way around the curve, back in there a centimetre or so in front of there like that. And where you can see that stitch now, there, okay, that's where we're going to go back in next time. So back in there and about a centimetre in front, all the way around. And that's one round with your stitching. So I'll bring the stitching up there for you to see my stitch line. And this is going to be the tail end there. So I'm going to go across there and slip stitch across. Just turn it around so it's easier for me. Slip stitch across there like that. And to make doubly sure now with our stitching, I'm going to put a fresh length of yarn on my darning needle, and I'm going to run through those stitches once more. So I've got my fresh piece of yarn on my darning needle, and this time if I bring up the stitches so you can see them, this time I'm going to bring my stitches over each of the joins. So where you can see the join there in the stitch, I'm going to now stitch from there to there, from there to there to there to there, which means that I'm bridging these joins here. And that's just my way of making sure that we get a really good seal and a really nice finish when we turn our work inside out. So I'm going to start at the same edge that we started on before. If you've got enough yarn on your tail from the first run, you can just carry on. Let's tie that off there, like that. And now I'm going to, I can see my stitch there now like that, okay, so I'm going to take a very small stitch, which takes me halfway through that stitch. And then, if I bring it up so you can see, I'm going to bridge it now. So I'm going to go through the halfway mark of that one, and up halfway through that stitch there like that. So every stitch that I make now is going to be bridging that join. Halfway through there. It's very difficult to see with the same colour yarn. And halfway through that one there. I hope that makes sense to you. But by all means, take your work and turn it inside out and check out that stitch line. You may very well be alright, and you may not very well need to do a second row of stitches. So I'll carry on with that now. Back to the beginning, and there we are. We can double up our slip stitching on the end there and tie off with a knot, and that's our stitching complete. I'm not going to hide my tails inside for this one, because once we turn this out, that's all going to disappear. So let's remove our clips now from our ends. And the moment of truth is to turn our project inside out. So that's going to be the neck of our cheeky chicken. And that's going to be the tail. And don't worry about the bits that we've folded in there, okay, that's all going to form part of the stuffing. You won't even know it's there. This is the neck part now, okay? There we go. So stretch our work again. Check your sewing there. I got a couple of little stitches showing, but it's neither here nor there. Okay, so double check your stitching, make sure you're happy with it, because you can always turn it back out and put another little round of stitches around there if you feel the need to, okay? So turn your little tail out. That's going to give a nice little cocky tail on our pretty little chicken. And that's the project so far. So next we'll move on now to add in the eyes. So moving on to the eyes, I'm going to be using a small piece of felt behind each eye just to make sure that they don't come through when we fit them. So I've cut a couple of little squares there, okay? I'm going to fold them in half, and I'm going to make a little cut there in the center so that the spike of the eye can fit through there. Okay, and what we're aiming to do on the neck of our chicken here is to have the eyes equal both sides there, okay? Grab my measuring tape, and I'm going to place mine approximately an inch in from that folded area there, and probably an inch down or so. So an inch down and an inch in is around about there. So I'm going to place my eye there like that. I'm going to pop my little bit of brown felt behind. There we go. So that goes through there like that, and then we add the backing and fasten that on like that till it goes clickety click, and that hopefully then will stop that eye from pulling through the fabric to a certain extent anyway. So we're going to do the same the other side now. So carry on now and fit the eye on the opposite side in exactly the same way. Inch down, inch in, inch down, approximately there. Have a check that they're looking about symmetrical from the front there like that, more or less. And again we're going to fit our little bit of felt as a safety measure and pop the back on, and then that's our eyes done. There we go. Now we move on to the next stage. For the next stage you're going to need a length of matching yarn on a darning needle. I probably got about 12 to 18 inches on there. And what we're going to do now is find the top edge of the neck section here. Don't worry about these little tails, we can fold them in. And we're going to put a drawstring around the top, the same as we do with all other projects. Under 2 and over 2, leave a tail. All the way around that top edge there like that. Back to the beginning. There we are. And what we're going to do now is simple. We're just going to cinch that closed. And that'll close the head section off nice and neatly there like that. Tie a few knots. Nice and tight. Taking care not to snap that yarn, okay? Couple of little knots to close that off. And I like to do a double knot for the third one, which means I wrap it around once and I wrap it around twice. And then feed your tails inside. No need to chop them off because they will become part of the stuffing in a moment. So feed those through. Same with the other one. Feed that through. No need to chop them off. So there's that all done and dusted, and we're going to move on now to stuffing our chicken. and then we'll move on to doing the wings and all the nice little things that make it even more chickeny. Now I've got my stuffing at the ready here, and there's an order of stuffing with this project, okay? Don't forget to fluff your stuffing a little bit, get a bit of air in there. If it's been in a bag, it's been compacted for a bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to stuff the neck and head of our chicken first to make sure that we get that all nice and plumped out properly. So do those sections first. Okay, so do the neck section. Take a small piece then and do the tail section. There we are. But once you've got that, as you can see, the tail section then curves around a little bit, which is ever so cute. So now go ahead and just stuff your chicken body as you would. Fluff and stuff, as they say. And like I said, that piece inside there now that we've folded in will become part of the stuffing. It's not going to be seen at all. There we go. Make sure that the neck of your chucky chicken now is nice and firm. Not too firm, by the way, not, you know, rock hard or anything like that. Just that it's supported, okay? I like to push my stuffing to the outer edges first to make sure it's all done. And then pop a little bit in the middle. And you can even use your tail ends. Like I grabbed one there, pop that in as well. Don't let them waste. There we go. Flatten my chicken a little bit. Now I've got a little bit of a gap there now at the tail. So I need to go in there now and make sure that the stuffing is going there. So I don't want any of those little baggy, saggy, empty pieces in my chicken body and tail. So now that's better. Neck is looking good, but it needs a little bit more stuffing. Pop that there and there like that. And you make your chicken as plump as you like. I'm going to add a tad more, just a little bit more. And then all we do is we cinch exactly as if we were making a beanie. So find those tails, cinch the inner part of our chicken body first, and before we secure off, this is another chance for you now to double check how stuffed your chicken is and if you're happy with it, because you can unravel that a little bit now and add a little bit more. Okay, so I think that's looking reasonably good for me. I might add a little bit more in there actually, so I can unravel that a little bit now. So this is your chance to double check your stuffing levels before we close off completely. I think I'm going to be happy with that. So I'm going to cinch that one exactly like making a beanie now. Cinch the outer one. And I like to stick my finger in there like that. I find it gives you a nice little cinch before you close it completely. Cinch that inner one. Cinch that outer one. I'm going to cut my tails a little bit because they're very long now. Keep these lengths, you never know, you might need them for a little bit of sewing on later or something. Cinch and tie together. 2 nice knots, and then my third one wrap around twice. Now find your darning needle, pop the tails on and hide the tails in the body of your chicken. If you find you've got a little hole like that, which I have now, I've not cinched it quite tight enough, you can use that tail to put a few little stitches in there to close that up. So close that up completely like that till you're happy with your with the finished look of your underneath of your chucky. And then you can hide the tails inside, so I'm happy with that. You can do a much neater job than I'm doing here because you'll have a little bit more time on your side. And hide those tails inside. Push them through. There we are, and we can trim them off now. There we are, there's our tails gone. And there's our little chucky body all done and dusted, and that's how it's looking so far. You can see it has a nice chucky shape. Okay, so no need to push down the middle or anything like that and gather it at the bottom. This shape is already formed through that little sewing activity that we did earlier on. So next we need to do the wings, and they're easy peasy, but you need a 22 pin machine in order to do the wings. And we're going to do the comb, and we're going to do a little perky beak. Next we're moving on to making the wings, and we're going to cast on as normal on our 22 pin machine, over and under, all the way around. Yarn in the yarn feeder and 0 hour clock, and we are going to knit 20 rows. Now I take my time with my first row on my 22 pin because it can be a little bit finicky, and after that then we're good to go. So 20 rows, and the written pattern will give you the numbers that you need to do for the other sizes of machine, the 40 pin. So 20 rows for the 46 or the 48 pin machine. We'll do the wings quite nicely. There we are, row 20, so we are going to snip that off. And we're going to change over now to waste yarn. So pick a nice contrasting colour so you can see the stitches. And I do about 6 rows. And that's my 6 rows done, happy with that. So remove the yarn from the yarn feeder and just crank around twice until your work falls off your machine. There we go, great stuff, that's off. Now repeat that, okay, because you need to make another one for the other side of your chicken. So make 2 of these. Once you've knitted your 2 wing sections of 20 rows cast on, 20 rows cast off with waste yarn, do that twice, that's your wings done. Then on the 22 pin you need to knit the beak, and that's cast on, do 8 rows. And for the comb, the little red bit that goes across the top of the head of the chicken, you need to do 8 rows again on your 22 pin. Cast on, do 8 rows, cast off, and do that 3 times. Okay, in the red of your choice. Now we're moving on to preparing the wings for our chicken. And we need to close up the end of the tube, and if you know how to do that already, then there's no need for you to watch this section. The way I do it is I like to line my tube up like that, so I've got my tails on the far left hand side, that's the way I work it. And then on the last 2 stitches, which are a little bit finicky to find when you get to the end, I like to put a stitch marker in each one. Oops. In that stitch and in that one. And then make sure that they are on the far left like that. And move your way across to the right hand side. And then you'll have 2 stitches either side there like that. And what I do for that is I'll pick up 1 stitch and pick up the other stitch, one from the top, one from the bottom. Like that, eventually, without catching any of the waste yarn whatsoever. Like that, okay, and then pull 1 through the other. And then zigzag back and forth from the top to the bottom, all the way along, till you get to the other end, and then you just pull your tails through. And that's sealing off a tube for you. Once you're at the end then and you've finished sealing off your tube, just grab your yarn tail and pull that through to seal off and pull it tightly like that. And then all you need to do is to remove your waste yarn. And the cast off end of waste yarn is always so much easier than the cast on end. And I'm going to hold my main yarn tail there out of the way while I pull this off and twist around as I go so it doesn't get tangled, she says, as it starts getting tangled. There we go. And pull that waste yarn off. And there we have our finished tube end, nicely and neatly finished off. So pop the tail onto a darning needle and thread that inside, because we don't need that now. And trim that off. There we go. Get rid of our waste yarn there and our little clips, we can put them away. Now then, to form the wing, this is what we need to do. We're going to cinch the other end tightly. Okay, like any other cinch, just cinch away, pop that on the darning needle. And we need to put a few knots in that to secure it. That's all I'm going to do. You can do a few more if you're happier to do that. And I'm going to call that done. Now then, we need to manipulate this shape now into a wing shape, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to just pull it apart like that and manipulate it until we have the pointy sections like that running right down the center of the piece like that. Okay, now this is another way that you can make leaves that way. If you want to make leaves that way, you can, but we're going to be using our wing this way around. Okay, so that's the way we're going to be using our wing. Now if you find it is bagging a little there, okay, you can pop a stitch in between the layers, no problem at all, like that. Very, very small stitch, a couple back and forth like that, and that will hold that in place and stop it from wiggling around a little bit too much. Okay, if you want to do that. Now that is our wing, and we need to do exactly the same thing now with the other one, and then they're ready to be attached to the body of our chicken. Next we're going to move on to preparing the comb. That's the piece that sits right on the top of the head of our chicken. And we've knitted 3 pieces of 8 rows each on the 22 pin machine. And we'll start by preparing one, and then you can carry on and prepare the other 2. Now these are very fiddly, okay? I will warn you that you need to be a little bit patient with this, shall I say. Right, so we're going to pull that through there like that, the tail, so that the tails are coming through the center of each one. And I'm going to cinch that one closed. So cinch that closed best you can. Hold it then in the center, I find helps to hold it there, and cinch the other one closed. Okay, so you've got the 2 tails now coming out of the one hole at the end there, okay, which is what we want. All right, now then we're going to make this into a circle. Now it's not going to go into a perfect circle, okay, because the piece is so small, it just will not do that for you. All right, but we're going to do our best. So cinch it tight and cinch that hole as tight as you can, and put a couple of knots in there to secure that into a circle. Okay, don't cut the tails quite yet. So cinch it so you've got that circle nice and tight. And like I said, it's very difficult to get this into a complete perfect circle because of the size of it. So we're going to do our best. So a couple of nice tight knots like that. Job done. Now, whichever tail is longer, keep that one and cut the other one short. Alright, so just cut the other one short. Don't worry about tucking it in, you don't need to tuck it in at the moment. Now the other tail, pop that on a darning needle. Now we're working with DK yarn here, okay? I tried it with Aran and that was way too thick. And it was too bulky and a little bit difficult to work with. So even out your circle as best you can. Okay, so even it out. And I got a little bit of a deeper hole there. It doesn't really matter, okay? Now flop your waste yarn, your tail, over to one side. Any side, doesn't matter whether you're left-handed or right-handed, whichever works for you. Prop it over and fold this piece in half. Okay, fold it in half like that. Now that little tail is sticking out, just pop it in like that. Now what we're going to do is mattress stitch around as best we can, alright? So catch 2 stitches there, okay? 2 stitches there, 2 bars, I'm going to do that way. And again 2 there, and do that all the way around. And this is going to form our comb, or part of our comb. All the way around like that, stitching that together. And it is a fiddly little piece, but once you get it into that circle, you're winning then. It won't take you long. And again, the sizes for the other sizes of chicken will be on the pattern for you, okay? So if you've got a 40 pin machine, or if you want to do the whole set, the 22 pin, 40 pin and the 46 or 48 pin, you'll have a whole family of little chickens then. It'll be ever so cute. So all the way around back to the beginning like that. And that's our, put a little bit of tension on that to make sure everything is gathered in. I'm going to put a little knot there now to secure it. Leave the tail on, because we can use that then for stitching that onto our chicken when we come to it. So leave the tail and finish the other 2 now, and I'll show you next how to do the beak. To do the beak, we have on our 22 pin machine cast on, knitted 8 rows and cast off. Again, this is another fiddly little piece, okay? So we're going to do exactly the same as we did with the other piece. We're going to pull one tail and pull the other, and then it'll start making a little bit more sense as to what we've got to deal with here. Pull that one and then pull the other one. Okay, and that's what we got. And what we're going to do is we're going to cinch one end nice and tight and closed. So that's what we're going to do. So pop that onto a darning needle and put a few stitches in the end that's got a really tight cinch on it. Okay, so as tight as you can get it. Close that hole all the way up and put a few stitches in it. Like that. Okay, and that's job done. Now with the other side, we're not going to cinch it quite all the way like we did with that side. We're going to leave it more in a kind of a little line like that. Alright, so the little line is going to be approximately about an inch. Aim for an inch or 2.5 centimeters along there, along that bottom edge. Okay, so put that tail on a darning needle and we are going to stitch that end closed. Okay, so it's nice and flat. Make it as flat as you can when you're doing it. There we go, so we'll get it all flat like that, and we're just going to overcast the edge like that all the way along the end there to neaten that up. It's such a small piece to do with waste yarn that I haven't bothered, and once we do all the folds we need to do to make this into a little beak, it's not going to matter at all. especially when it's attached onto our chicken. So there we go, we're right at the end here now, so we just do a little knot on there like that. There we go, and that's relatively neat and tidy across there. Alright, so we can hide our tail inside there now and chop that off. We don't need that one, so we get rid of that little tail, and then we'll start doing our folds. So pop the other end onto a darning needle like that. Now what we need to do, as best we can here now, is to fold that in at an angle there, but keep the bottom edge as flat as you can. So we're looking for a triangle shape, okay, like that. Alright, so we're looking for a pointy bit at the top. So just to show you again, fold it in that way like that, fold it in that way like that, okay, and then fold it in half again like that, so it's wider on the bottom than it is at the top. Okay, and what we're going to do is mattress stitch again all the way down the length of this piece. And what I'm trying to do here is to provide you with a way of making these pieces for your chicken without having to crochet, because I know a lot of people don't crochet, and I'm still learning. I'm very much a novice, so my mind is, how can I let people have the option to make this chicken without having to do any crochet at all. So that's my plan in doing this. Now when we look at this little beak, okay, it's still a little bit on the chunky side, so what I decided to do was to fold it up once more. Okay, so I'm going to leave the end there a little bit chunky, but I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to push it about halfway or 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to push it down, hold it in my fingers, push it down like that. Okay, and as you can see, it folds in on itself. So do that, fold that in like that, pull the needle out, and then what we're going to do is mattress stitch up there again. Hold that in place while I reverse it, and that will make the beak a little smaller for you. But if you like the chunkier beak, by all means stick with the first set of folds and that'll be absolutely fine. I prefer the slightly thinner beak myself, so it's just another little row of stitches, and then we can call that beak done, and we can attach it to our chicken. And we'll do all the attachments together, so we're preparing all our pieces in advance now, and then we can attach it all in one go to our chicken and make it all nice and chickeny. So there we go, there's a smaller little chickeny beak, and I'm going to thread that through there all the way back down to the bottom. So once you've finished, I'm just going to thread it right back down to the bottom, and then that tail then we can use to attach it to our chicken face. Arrange and gather and smooch it a little bit so you get the shape you want, and that's a nice little beak to do if you don't crochet. Of course, if you are very good at crocheting, by all means crochet a beak yourself and fit that instead. But for all you non-crocheters out there, or inexperienced ones like myself, I hope this fits the bill. Oh, that's such a pun, I do apologise, I just couldn't resist. So here we go now then, we'll start attaching all these pieces onto our beautiful little chicken. Once complete and prepared, you will have the following items: 2 little wings, 1 little beak, and 3 little combs. So let's attach them to our chicken. So here we are back with our chicken, and our first thing we're going to attach is our beak. Now find where your seam is, okay, find your seam, and that's my seam there, okay, and we're going to put that facing downwards, okay. So pop the tail that you left on your piece once you finished seaming it up, pop that onto a darning needle. Okay, have a look at the front of your chicken there. All right, so decide where you want to put yours. I'm going to put mine down about there, which is approximately, I'd say, a centimetre down from where the eyes are, and smack bang in the middle of the eyes. Okay, so what we're going to do is just mattress stitch then from the body to the beak all the way around. On my last stitch, I'm going to put a little knot in there and hide my tail then inside the work. Push that down there like that, bring it out somewhere down there, and snip that off. There we go, that's done. So there's my chicken beak attached. Boop, boop, boop. So now we're going to move on to attaching the comb. Now moving on to doing the comb, which is the bit that goes across the top of our chicken's head. I've got one of my 3 little comby pieces here, okay, and I've got the tail on a darning needle. Right, now I'm going to position my comb about an inch, just over an inch, or 3.5 centimeters up from there. So I'm going to put my first comb there like that. Okay, and we're going to mattress stitch that in place again, but you can position your comb wherever you feel is right. Make sure it's smack bang in the middle of the eyes though, that's important. Okay, I know some chickens, because we have chickens as you know, sometimes the comb will flop over like that. Okay, and I'm not quite sure why that happens actually, but chickens are lovely little creatures. So in the middle, there we go, and we're going to mattress stitch in between the body and the comb piece without trying to wrap it around our beak, like that. I like to go down into the stuffing a little bit and get a little bit of an anchoring. That's my style, and you can scooch that up a little bit there if you want it. Okay, I like to dig down a little bit and back up, and then back into the comb part and back down into the body part or the top of the head, like that. Pulling that mattress stitch in, scooching that back end in a little bit there to cutch it up a little bit. Alright, cutch is a Welsh word, by the way. It means to snuggle, or to get close, to have a cuddle. It's a lovely word, I love it. So carry on round the one side and then exactly the same around the other side. I'm going to take my needle back to the middle there, and I'm going to tie my knot off at the back actually, so I'm going to take my yarn right back round to the back, and I'm going to tie my little knot here like this. Quick double knot, hide my tail, okay, hide my tail in there somewhere, and we're going to move on out to attaching the second part of the comb. Thank you, Jess. Second part of the comb coming next. So to attach our second comb, exactly the same procedure really. We're going to pop our tail onto a darning needle, and we are going to push the next one up behind the chicken's head there like that. Okay, so you can see, scoot it up as close as you can behind the chicken head there like that. And again, mattress stitch them into place between the body and the comb, making sure again that it's following that seam there, that it's nice and straight all the way down the back end of our chicken's neck. So do it around one side and around the other side. When you get back there then, if you have got a little bit of a gap, you can add a little bit more of a stitch in between by working up in between like that. So in between and in between like that, and really stitch those two pieces of the comb together. I'm going to finish with a little knot in there like that, and then I'm going to bury my tails inside the head of the chicken and move on to the third comb. Again, we're going to attach it in exactly the same way as we did the other one. We're going to pop it behind the other one like that and just mattress stitch it one side and mattress stitch it the other side. Now when I've attached this one, I could have put this one a little bit lower down, okay, a centimetre or so lower down, but it's going to be fine. But you can position your 3 combs to suit yourself, okay. This is just my way of showing you how to do it, and positioning your combs will be up to you. I'm going to just push that through there to attach it to the comb in front and stitch it back through like that, and then I'm going to scooch it up a little bit and attach it like we did with the other ones, from the body to the comb all the way around. Make sure that it's following that center line there, okay. That's a really good guide in order to keep your center line and to keep everything nice and straight. It's lining up really nicely now with the back end, as you can see there. And you can pin them on first, of course, that's always a good idea. Pinning and positioning and checking that that's where you want it to sit. So back up to the beginning, last one into the final comb there for me, and then I'm going to stitch it onto the middle one. Then I'm going to go across there like that, and I'm just going to put a few stitches in between the two to join them together, just back and forth there like that, joining them together and making that comb look like one piece. There's my knot, and then I'm going to bury my tail inside there like that. Trim that off, and that's the comb done. Absolutely love the way that tail curls around there. Isn't that adorable? So we have our wing here, okay, and as you can see, that's the side with the seam on it, which we're going to put to the body side. We're going to pop our tail that we left on the piece onto a darning needle, and we are going to attach to our chicken body. Now I like to angle mine like that, pointing up towards the tail, okay. That's my preferred way of doing it. Alright, so if you want to angle them down like that, you can do. Actually, it looks really pretty as well. And what I like about these wings is they've got shape. They're not just a flat piece of knitted panel or anything like that. They've got shape, they've got a little bit of curl, little bit of a dome there, really, really pretty. So attach it that way or attach it that way. That is going to be your choice. I think this time I might actually do them downwards or upwards. Let's do them downwards for a change, because my prototype is facing upwards, and then you can see the difference between the two. So you can pop a pin in there, grab a pin, you can pop a pin in there like that to position, okay, and then what we're going to do is again mattress stitch, and I've got my tail there at the back, and I'm going to mattress stitch not all the way around the edge but slightly inside the edge, okay. So I'm going to about a 1/2 centimetre in, so I'm going to mattress stitch there between the body, okay, and slightly underside of the wing there. I want to leave a bit of a lip once it's sewn on, but if you want to sew it on your way, by all means you carry on and do it that way. Okay, so I want to mattress stitch in between the body like that, and about a centimetre, 1/2 centimetre to a centimetre in from the edge of the wing. I think that leaves a nice little bit of movement in it, a bit of a flap. It's not quite so flat and unstructured that way. But like I said, the way for you to fit it is going to be completely up to you. That's the beauty of these patterns, is they can be made your own with very, very minor changes. So that's what I like. Angle your wings a different way, put different colour wings on, that kind of thing. And when we come to the end here, this curly little piece here, don't, well, in my opinion anyway, don't flatten that all the way down. It loses its character. Leave it sticking up like that. Okay, so leave it sticking up and follow your mattress stitch around like that, leaving that little lippy bit up, because that adds a little bit of a flick to the wing. And although we all know that this is a knitted chicken, nowhere near a real one, it does add a little bit of character, I think. So carry on like that all the way around the wing like that. Once you positioned it in between the body, and 1/2 centimetre to a centimetre inside the underside of the wing, as you can see me doing here. Okay, move it back into shot a little bit. There we go. Into the underside, just catching the one layer. Okay, we're not going through to the front layer. You don't want to see any stitches popping through on the front. All the way around. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing now with the other wing. Okay, so in there like that. 1/2 centimetre to a centimetre in, depending on what look you want. All the way around. There we are. Back to the beginning, and we can tie off and hide our tails then. We come back around so we can catch the underside of our chicken there, back onto the body, underside to the chucky, back onto the body. And I think we can call that done. That's a really nice and happy job with that one. Put a little knot in when you're done. Same as we always finish off with most of these, attaching limbs and wings and all sorts. Little knot, and bury our tail inside the work like that. Snip it off. Remove our pin, and there we have our little chucky wing. Looking cute. It has a little bit of bounce and a little bit of texture to it because it's not super flat, to the body of the chicken. You can puff it out a little bit like that, and that looks ever so cute. And leaving that little bit there open, I think adds just a little bit of character. Okay, so do the same now the other side with the other wing, and we are more or less done with our chicken. So when you're attaching the wing to the other side of your chicken, look from the top down, okay, and look for symmetry and making sure that things line up as best as possible. Okay, you can use a measuring tape to measure down from that center line if you want to. Alright, but measure and have a look and do it by eye and make sure that everything is looking nice and symmetrical, or as near as you can possibly get it anyway, so that your chicken is going to be able to flap around the garden in good style. And there's our chicken wings attached. Pump them up a little bit if you want to, or leave them flat if you want to. And there's our Chucky chicken, more or less complete. You can add some little embellishments more if you prefer. I was thinking maybe of two lovely little buttons there. If you added a button left and right of the wing there, it would be kind of artsy craftsy. I do have a couple of buttons, so if you did, you could add a nice little button like that. Okay, that kind of effect on your chicken if you wanted to do something like that, or a more contrasting button. Just an idea for you there. You could add some little tufts on the end of the tail if you wanted to, but I kind of like that little cocky little tail. It is ever so cute. So if you like this project, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's great to have you with me, and if you hit that bell icon, you'll be informed for when I upload even more free tutorials for you to enjoy. And don't forget, there's a written pattern to go with this one if you'd like to purchase that. It'll give you the templates that you need to use for the 4648, which is this one, the 22 pin, which is, are you ready? This one. Oh, it's so cute. Look at that. These are made on the 22 pin. Okay, so the little templates will be there for you to make little chickens on the 22 pin as well, and you can see they're cute. Alright, they're made more or less in the same way with some slight adjustments due to the size of the combs and things like that. Okay, I've not made one on the 40 pin yet, but the details in the pattern will be for the 40 pin as well. Okay, so there we have chickens for a 46/48 and a 22 pin there. So check the pattern out. It'll be really reasonable for you to buy the pattern and save you having to take all the notes, and you can support my channel that way as well. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again very soon. And if you don't buy the pattern, that's absolutely fine, but maybe if you could make a donation to a local animal charity or animal shelter, no kill by the way, that's close to you or close to your heart, that would be very much appreciated. Take care of yourselves now, and I'll see you again very soon. Say bye, Chucky. Bye. Tweet 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 tweet. Oh, and you. Okay, I'm not forgetting you. Tweet 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 tweet.